A lot of people say to me, they'll say, Z, you fell for the flat earth psyop, Z. Z, don't you know that flat earth came out 2016 and it's just a YouTube conspiracy, dummy? How dumb could you be to fall for something so silly as a flat earth? Well, the reality is the flat earth has always been an understanding of man forever. Ancient man wasn't dumb enough to think that they could live on an impossibility. They weren't dumb enough to think that they could live on something that goes against all laws of physics. Who would be? I wasn't there. Flat earthers were around since the mid 1800s when this psychotic, demonic, bloodline elite ruling class started to perpetrate the globe lie. Flat earthers have always been around because it's just the reality that we live in. So I have for you a clip from 1980 from one Charles Johnson. Some of you might be aware of him. He was the initiator and founder of the Flat Earth Society. Now, some people are going to say, oh, Z, the Flat Earth Society, they're a psyop to make flat earthers look stupid. Well, says you. Says you. So I'm going to play you some clips from 1980 from Mr. Charles Johnson. I'll let him talk about it.
Beyond the mountains, the flat land stretches to the horizon, and beyond the horizon, according to Charles Johnson, the land continues to be flat. As a matter of fact, Charles Johnson believes the whole world is flat. 30 minutes from Lancaster, just off Highway 14 in a remote corner of the desert, Charles Johnson set up his Flat Earth headquarters about 10 years ago. It's from here he keeps in touch with the rest of the world. A round map of the flat earth adorns the wall of the office where he and Mrs. Johnson, the only other staff member, spend...
Did you see the Gleason's map in the back? Same map that many of us will promote.
Endless hours spreading the gospel and the latest facts to fellow believers.
Our aim is to restore the world to sanity. The civilization is crumbling. It must come to pieces because we're based on a completely false premise. And I mean, Watergate, things like that are of no consequence, compared to this. Moses is a flat earther, by the way. He's one of the earliest writers for the Flat Earth Society. George Washington was a flat earther.
I like what he said there. He said things like Watergate are of no consequence because once you realize the magnitude of the deception that has been perpetrated on humanity, the silly games of politics just dissolve. They become nothing and of no consequence. That's why you don't see me engaging in that silly discourse. He said Moses was a flat earther. You have to remember the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah, are attributed to Moses. Moses apparently authored the first 5 books. Included in them is Genesis. Moses was a flat earther. He said George Washington was a flat earther. It's crazy to think otherwise. We've all just been indoctrinated in this inverted, goofy ideology.
He gets mail from, around the world, including some from institutions of higher learning.
Well, a PhD. Let's see, I'll have to answer his letter. He said he's so happy. He's always believed the earth is flat, but he never knew where we were located. Thank goodness he's found us. We're living in the midst of a hoax. The space program, plus the hoax that the world is evolved to begin with. It estimated we have around 1,500 members, but all of them are not paid up. I was checking over one time. People asked me what kind of people belong to the Flat Earth Society. Well, I told them it's thinking classes. But as professions now, medical doctors, lawyers are there, judges. Our country is just loaded with.
He already said judges, lawyers, medical doctors, PhDs, etc., etc. Many of you might be surprised to know that the current Flat Earth community is comprised of many of the same types of people. Intelligent people, rational people, logical people, spiritual people.
They're flat earthers, but they're closet believers.
Mr. Johnson, how can you prove to me that the world is flat?
It's the simplest And it's like every great idea. It's so elementary, it's so simple that you can't understand it. I kicked myself. I was only 18 when I learned how to prove it. I said, my God, how was I so stupid that I couldn't have thought of it to begin with?
Prove to me that the world is flat.
There's no curvature. There's not an inch. There's not any. It's flat. In reality,
There's no curvature. It's really what it comes down to. Like he said, it's so simple. It's the lie that's complex, like any lie. Let's think about any lie that you or anybody else could ever tell. To hold up a lie is complex. It's hard. It's difficult. To maintain a lie takes a lot of energy, a lot of resources. The truth is simple, as it always is.
there's no way to fall off of the flat Earth. But if the world were a ball, of course, you would fall.
Mr. Johnson feels that falling off a ball is proof enough the Earth is flat. So I asked him about the celestial bodies which the eye and telescope can see are round.
We don't have to explain the stars. I mean, they're just little lights.
Little light bulbs?
They could very well be up in the dome of heaven.
What about the other planets?
The Earth is not a planet. Earth is the center of the universe.
The Earth is not a planet. The Earth is the center of the universe. 1980, 11 years after the supposed Apollo 11 mission to the moon. 11 years is not a long time. People aren't as dumb as many would like to portray them as. Man has an innate ability to think critically. Man has an instinct for logic and rational thought. You want to lie to people, you want to perpetrate a deception, people are always going to be able to think. It's incumbent upon those of us that still maintain the God-given ability for sovereign, independent thought to continue to speak no matter what.
I mean, this is the universe. This is all there is. It's just one world, one flat world.
Charles Johnson also believes, because airlines navigate with flat maps, that some of them endorse his theories.
So we advise all our members and supporters to fly TWA all the way. They're officially Flat Earth. It's the Flat Earth Airline. They use the Flat Earth map. They navigate by the Flat Earth map.
Mr. Johnson, probably the most beautiful picture I ever saw was of the round Earth taken from the moon.
You see how flippant she is? Did you hear the studio audience laugh as she glanced into the camera? First of all, he was letting her know, look, all the maps used for navigation, they're azimuthal equidistant maps, the AE map, like the Gleasons and others, the ones that portray the North Pole at the center and the so-called South as a ring or a circumference around the world. This is the map used for navigation purposes, not only by, as he said, the commercial airline industry, but also all military forces, plain and simple. And then, of course, here we are, 1980. So, again, just about a decade after the supposed moon missions, the Apollo missions, and she references the wonderful picture of Earth from the moon, so-called Earthrise.
How do you explain those pictures?
Same world. It was made in the same place, movie studios. Actually, I think NBC and some of the movie studios make much better space photographs, like Buck Rogers and all that sort of thing, as far as superior to the movies that NASA makes. They're actually rank amateurs.
Mr. Johnson says the space program is only the product of a movie studio, but from the front porch of his Flat Earth headquarters, he can see the space headquarters of Rockwell International.
Made in a movie studio, plain and simple. These are simple concepts. When one reaches a certain maturity, it's comforting to understand that the most important things in life are just very simple. We appear to live in a created world, one in which all valuable knowledge is attainable for us, and anything that's worthy of attention is achievable.